Namaskaram. In last class, we have discussed Cauchy-Riemann equations and the relation between derivative and CR equations. In this session, we will solve more problems related to Cauchy-Riemann equations. Okay, let's start. These are the solutions of previous homework. We know that e raised to ix is equal to cos x plus I sin x, and this is called Euler's formula, and e raised to minus ix equal to cos x minus I sin x. Okay, we can write cos x and sin x in terms of e raised to ix and e raised to minus ix using these two equations. So cos x is like this, e raised to ix plus e raised to minus ix by 2, and sin x is e raised to ix minus e raised to minus ix by 2i. Next, we are going to define complex cosine and sine function by generalizing these two equations. So we define cos z as e raised to iz plus e raised to minus iz by 2, and sin z as e raised to iz minus e raised to minus iz by 2i. Since e raised to z is defined, it's a well-defined function for every z, this cos z and sin z are well-defined. So find the real and imaginary parts of cos z. That means this now cos z is a complex function, so it has real and imaginary parts u and v. So we have to find this u and v, and u and v are real functions, right? This is the definition of cos z. We substituting z is equal to x plus iy, then we get like this. Next we expand this bracket, so this become e raised to ix minus I into I is I square, that is minus 1, that's why this is minus y, plus e raised to minus ix, and I into I is I square is minus 1, there is a one more minus, this become plus, so plus y divided by 2. This become e raised to ix into e raised to minus y by 2, and similarly this one is e raised to minus ix into e raised to y by 2. By Euler's formula, this e raised to ix become cos x plus I sin x, and e raised to minus ix become cos x minus I sin x. Okay. Here these two terms are real and cos x is common, and these two terms are imaginary. So by comparing the real and imaginary, we get cos x is common, so cos x into e raised to y plus e raised to minus y by 2, and this become minus I into, and sin x is common, sin x into, this term is e raised to y, and this become minus e raised to minus y by 2. Okay, and this is our hyperbolic cosine, and this is hyperbolic sine. Okay, so this become cos x into cos hy. We denote this as cos hy, right? Minus I into sin x into, this is our sin hy. So now it is in u plus iv form, both are real. So the real part u equal to cos x into cos hy, and the imaginary part v is equal to minus sin x into sin hy. So these are the real and imaginary parts of cos z. Okay, next problem. Show that cos z is analytic everywhere. That means we have to show that cos z is an entire function. We know that these are the real and imaginary parts. Next you have to check whether u and v satisfies Cauchy-Riemann equations or not. So we are going to find ux, uy, vx and vy. And what is ux? Ux is equal to minus sin x into cos hy, and uy is equal to cos x into sin hy. The derivative of cos hy is sin hy, because the derivative of cos hy is equal to, this is nothing, our sin hy. Similarly, you can easily verify that derivative of sin hy is cos hy. Okay. Okay. Similarly, the derivative of v with respect to x is minus cos x into sin hy, and derivative with respect to y is minus sin x into derivative of sin hy is cos hy. So this implies what? It is clear that ux equal to vy, right? So ux equal to vy, uy is equal to minus of vx. Okay, so u and v satisfies Cauchy-Riemann equations for all z. Also, all the four first order partial derivatives are continuous everywhere. So u and v satisfies the sufficiency condition for analyticity. So our function cos z is analytic everywhere. Okay, we know that cos hx equal to e raised to x plus e raised to minus x by 2. Similarly, sin hx equal to e raised to x minus e raised to minus x by 2. They are called hyperbolic cosine and sine function. Okay. So by replacing x by z, a complex number, we define complex version of hyperbolic functions. That is cos hz and sin hz is defined like this by extending these definitions. Next, we have to find the real and imaginary parts of sin hz. By definition, this is our sin hz and we are replacing z by x plus iy. Then this become like this, and e raised to x plus iy is become e raised to x into e raised to iy, and similarly this one is e raised to minus x into e raised to minus iy. Next we are replacing e raised to iy by cos theta plus I sin y using our Euler's formula, and this is replaced by cos y minus I sin y. Okay. Next we compare the real and imaginary. These two are real terms and these two are imaginary terms. So comparing real and cos y is common. So this become cos y into e raised to x minus e raised to minus x by 2. Imaginary part become plus I into sin y is common, sin y into e raised to x plus e raised to minus x by 2. And we know that this is our sin hx and this is our cos hx. So this become cos y into sin hx plus I sin y into cos hx. So real part of sin hz is sin hx into cos y, and the imaginary part of sin hz is cos hx into sin y. In previous lecture, we have proved this result, a necessary condition for differentiability. That is, a function f of z equal to u plus iv is differentiable at a point z. Then u and v satisfies Cauchy-Riemann equations at that z. In general, its converse is not true. That means a function satisfies Cauchy-Riemann equations at a point does not imply f is differentiable at that point. So we are going to discuss a counterexample for this. That means a function satisfies Cauchy-Riemann equation, but it is not differentiable. So this is the one example. Show that f of z equal to square root of xy is satisfied CR equations at z equal to 0, even though it is not differentiable at origin. That means Cauchy-Riemann equations alone is not sufficient for differentiability at a point. Okay. We have seen that f of z equal to square root of xy is not differentiable at z equal to 0. That is our problem number 8 in lecture 3. I have provided the link in the description. So now we are going to verify this function is not satisfied CR equations at origin. To verify CR equations, we have to find real and imaginary parts of this function. So this function has no imaginary part. That means u equal to square root of xy and v equal to 0. So we have to evaluate partial derivatives at 0. Okay, what is ux at 0, 0? By definition, this is equal to limit extending to 0 ux 0 minus u 0, 0 by x minus 0. This is equal to, and what is ux 0? When y equal to 0, u is 0. So this is also 0. And this is equal to, so numerator is throughout 0, denominator is x, and here limit x tending to 0 means x is very close to 0, but x is never 0. That means x is a non-zero number. So 0 by a non-zero number, always 0. So next we have to find u by 0, 0. That is partial derivative of u with respect to y at origin. By definition, this is equal to rate of change of u with respect to y, right? So this is equal to u0 y is 0, because when x equal to 0, u is throughout 0. So 0, so this is equal to 0. What is vx of 0, 0? Partial derivative of v with respect to x at origin. By definition, this is equal to, but vxy is always 0. So this is 0 by x, and we know that limit extending to 0, 0 by x is 0. So this limit is 0. And similarly, we can easily verify that vy of 0, 0, that is also 0. So now we have all 4 partial derivatives at origin. It is clear that ux of 0, 0 equal to vy at 0, 0 and uy at 0, 0 is equal to minus vx of 0, 0, because all are zeros. So anyway, u and v satisfies Cauchy-Riemann equations at origin, but this function is not differentiable at origin. So Cauchy-Riemann equations alone is not sufficient for differentiability. Okay. Next problem. If f of z equal to u plus iv is analytic and u equal to v square, then show that f of z is a constant. That means we have to show that u and v are constants. Okay. So given that u equal to v square, we denote this as equation number 1. We differentiate this equation with respect to x and y. First we are going to differentiate equation number 1 with respect to x. Then we get ux equal to 2v into vx. Next we differentiate 1 with respect to y. Then we get this is equation number 2, this is equation number 3. Next we consider 2 by 3. So we get ux by uy is equal to 2v is common, you can cancel. By cross multiplying we get, but given that f of z is equal to u plus iv is analytic, so u and v satisfies Cauchy-Riemann equations. That means ux equal to vy and uy equal to minus vx. Next we are going to convert this equation in terms of vx and vy using this Cauchy-Riemann equations. So we are going to substitute ux by vy and uy by minus vx. So we get vy into vy is equal to vx into what is uy? Uy is minus vx. So this implies vy square is equal to minus vx square. So this implies vx square plus vy square equal to 0. And we know that sum of two non-negative terms are 0 implies both of them are 0. So this implies vx square equal to 0 and vy square equal to 0. This implies what? Square of vx square equal to 0 means vx equal to 0. So vx equal to 0 and vy equal to 0. So now the partial derivative of v with respect to x and y equal to 0. That means what? This implies v is a constant. But given that u equal to v square, this implies what? Already now v is a constant. So v square is also a constant. So u is also a constant, right? Now u and v are constant. So f is a constant. Okay. Next problem. Show that f of z equal to u plus iv is analytic does not imply v plus iu is analytic. Here u is the real part of f of z and v is the imaginary part of f of z. We just interchange real and imaginary. Okay, that's all. Consider f of z equal to z. What are the real and imaginary parts? We can write z as x plus iy. So here real part is x, imaginary part is y. That is u equal to x and v is equal to y. ux equal to 1 and uy equal to 0. Similarly, what is vx? Vx is 0 and vy is 1. It is clear that ux equal to vy and uy equal to minus vx. So u and v satisfies Cauchy-Riemann equations. And these first order partial derivatives are continuous everywhere because all are constants. So f of z equal to z is analytic everywhere. Okay, so u and v satisfies Cauchy-Riemann equations and all the first order partial derivatives are continuous for all z. So f of z equal to z is analytic everywhere. Next we consider v plus iu. So here v is y and u is x. So v plus iu is equal to y plus ix. That is here v is equal to y, that is our real part, and u equal to x, that is our imaginary part. The partial derivatives are vx is equal to 0 and vy is equal to 1, ux is equal to 1 and uy equal to 0. So what are the Cauchy-Riemann equations corresponding to v and u? The Cauchy-Riemann equations are vx equal to uy and vy equal to minus ux. Clear that vx is equal to uy. These two are equal. But what about vy equal to minus ux? This is not true. So v plus iu does not satisfy Cauchy-Riemann equation at any point. So y plus ix is nowhere differentiable. So it is nowhere analytic. So v and u does not satisfy their equations anywhere. So v plus iu is nowhere analytic. So for this example, U plus IV is analytic, but V plus IU is nowhere analytic. This is your homework. Thank you.